There is a calling upon your life, a divine assignment, a sacred mission written before time began. You were not created by accident. You were not born into this world by mere chance or coincidence. Long before your first breath, the hand of the Almighty crafted your purpose, ordained your steps, and declared your destiny. You were made for such a time as this. But we live in an age of confusion, a time when multitudes wander, not knowing why they are here, caught up in noise and distraction, chasing shadows and mirages. They labor and strive, but their souls remain empty, because without the knowledge of your calling, you cannot walk in fulfillment. Without aligning your life to the purpose of God, everything else becomes meaningless, no matter how shiny it looks. The enemy knows this. That's why he fights your calling more than anything else. He doesn't fear your talent. He doesn't tremble at your success. He trembles at the moment you awaken to your divine purpose. Because when a child of God begins to move in alignment with the will of heaven, all of hell shakes. The adversary's strongest weapon is distraction. He'll keep you busy doing good things, just to keep you from doing the right thing, the thing you were born to do. But tonight, in this sacred moment, the Spirit of the Lord is stirring you. He's calling you out of the fog. He's shaking you from slumber because the time is short. The trumpet is about to sound, and now is the hour to rise, to move, to fulfill what you were born for. There are keys not given by man, but forged in the throne room of the Most High that unlock the pathway to your calling. They are not keys of ambition nor of worldly wisdom. These are ancient keys, heavenly keys. And once you take hold of them, nothing on earth or hell can stop you from fulfilling your divine assignment. So let the noise fade. Let the distractions fall away. Listen not with your ears, but with your spirit. For tonight you are not here by accident. You have been summoned. You are standing at the threshold of destiny. And the Lord, the Ancient of Days, is reaching out his hand to place the keys in your palm. Will you take them? Will you rise? Will you walk the narrow path, not of ease, but of purpose? Then prepare your heart. Because these are the sure keys to fulfilling your calling. The journey of your divine calling does not begin with strength. It does not begin with knowledge, ambition, or even vision. It begins with surrender, total, absolute, radical surrender. This is the mystery of the kingdom, that you must lose to gain, yield to conquer, and die to truly live. The calling that God has placed upon your life is not something you can grasp with your own will, shape with your own plans, or achieve through your own strength. It begins where your will ends. Surrender is not weakness. It is the highest act of strength. It is the moment when you lay down the throne of self and invite the King of Kings to take his rightful place. You cannot serve two masters. Your calling will never be birthed while self still reigns. As long as your will is in control, your destiny remains locked. But when you fall to your knees and say, "Lord, not my will but yours be done," the heavens begin to open. That moment, though silent to the world, shakes the foundations of the unseen realm. Abraham heard the call of God, but he did not see the full picture. He left everything, his land, his father's house, his comfort, not knowing where he was going. That is surrender. When you obey without full understanding, when you trust without proof, when you say yes to the voice even when the road is invisible, that is where the calling takes root, in the soil of surrender. It is in surrender that your heart is prepared. It is in surrender that the idols fall, the chains break, and the clutter of the world is cleared from your soul. The Lord does not reveal his plans to those who still cling to their own. He reveals the blueprint to those who have emptied their hands. You cannot hold your calling if your hands are full of your own desires. Let go, let it all fall, lay it down, and you will receive something eternal. Jesus said, "Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." This is not metaphor. This is the secret path to fulfillment. When you die to yourself, you come alive to your purpose. When you stop striving to write your own story, God begins to write it with his hand. And his script is always better than yours. You are not the author. You are the vessel. The second key to fulfilling your divine calling is this: you must seek God above all else. Not position, not favor, not applause, not ministry, not opportunity, God himself. For your calling is not found in a plan, it is found in a person. The one who discovers their purpose is the one who first discovers the presence of the Lord. In a world of endless distractions of screens, voices, and noise, the greatest danger is not failure, it is disconnection. The enemy of your calling is anything that draws you away from intimacy with God, because the closer you are to him, the clearer your path becomes. The further you drift, the more confused, frustrated, and empty you become. Clarity doesn't come from strategy sessions. It comes from the secret place. When Moses stood before the burning bush, he wasn't looking for a calling. He was seeking God. And in that sacred moment, in the fire of divine presence, the voice of purpose spoke. That is the pattern. First the presence, then the calling. God does not hand out assignments apart from relationship. He calls those who seek him. He reveals secrets to those who walk close, not to the crowd, not to the distracted, but to the ones who will turn aside from the noise and say, "Lord, I want you." David was a shepherd boy, overlooked by men but seen by God. While others were chasing position, David was chasing the heart of the Lord. And because he sought God's presence above all, he was elevated in due time. Promotion didn't come from people, it came from presence. He wrote, "One thing I ask of the Lord, this only do I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life." David's greatness was not in his skills or strength, it was in his hunger for God. You were not created to wander in the wilderness of busyness. You were created to walk in communion with the living God. And the more you seek him, the more your identity is restored. In his presence, confusion dies. In his presence, fear melts away. In his presence, destiny begins to unfold not as a list of tasks, but as a revelation of who you are in him. To seek God is to pursue him with your time, your energy, your affection, your thoughts. It is to make space not just on Sundays, not just in crisis, but every day. When you make him your dwelling, you step into the current of divine purpose. Obedience is not a suggestion in the kingdom of God. It is the pathway. Every step you take in obedience to his voice becomes a stone laid in the road to your destiny. Without it, there is no progress. Without it, there is no movement. You cannot fulfill your calling by knowing the word alone. You must walk it out. The power is not just in hearing, it is in doing. For it is written, "To obey is better than sacrifice." Why? Because obedience proves love. Obedience proves trust. Obedience is the evidence that you are aligned with heaven. When God speaks, he never wastes his words. His commands are not random, they are divine coordinates. Every instruction from the Lord is a divine invitation to step deeper into your purpose. The problem is not that God hasn't spoken, it's that many have not obeyed. We pray for direction, but then hesitate when he gives it. We ask for doors to open, but we refuse to walk through the ones he's already set before us. Obedience is what opens the next chapter. Look at Abraham, called to a land he did not know, told to offer up his own son. He obeyed, And in that obedience, God revealed a greater dimension of his promise. Look at Peter, told to cast his net again after catching nothing all night. He obeyed, and the nets broke with blessing. The miracle wasn't in the water, it was in the obedience. The breakthrough wasn't in the strategy, it was in the surrender to the voice of God. God will often ask you to do what doesn't make sense to the natural mind, because obedience is not about understanding, it's about trusting. If you only obey when it makes sense, you're not walking by faith. You're walking by sight. But the road to your destiny is paved with moments that stretch your faith. When you obey, you align your life with the will of heaven, and that alignment opens the supernatural. You may feel stuck, like your calling is distant, your prayers are unanswered, your vision is unclear, but perhaps the breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your obedience. Has God asked you to forgive someone, and you're still holding on? Has he called you to step out in faith, and you're still waiting for comfort? The delay is not in him. It's in your yes. Every act of obedience, no matter how small, is a seed planted in eternity. When you forgive, when you give, when you serve, when you move, heaven records it. And those steps, taken one after another, lead you to the fulfillment of your purpose. Not all at once, but faithfully, progressively, gloriously. Do not wait for the whole picture. Just obey the next step. The path is not revealed to the hesitant. It is revealed to the obedient. And as you walk in his will, you will find yourself standing exactly where you were always meant to be. Before the throne, before the spotlight, before the public calling, there is the hidden place, the secret place, the place where no one sees but God. And it is in that place, in the small things, in the unseen acts of faithfulness, that your destiny is forged. The great assignments of God are never given to those who bypass the small beginnings. He tests, he watches, and he prepares in the hidden ground long before he ever elevates in the open field. David was anointed to be king, but he did not ascend to the throne the next day. He returned to the fields, to the sheep, to the ordinary. There, in the quiet hills of Bethlehem, he fought off lions and bears, not before an army, but before an audience of none. Yet it was that same faithfulness in secret that trained his hands for battle. When the time came to face Goliath, he didn't need to learn courage. He had already walked with it in the pasture. The small battles prepared him for the giant, and so it is with you. We live in a world that chases platforms, visibility, and recognition. But God is not looking for performance, he is looking for faithfulness. He is watching what you do when no one applauds, how you serve when no one acknowledges, how you worship when no one listens, how you pray when no one sees. That is the testing ground of purpose. That is where God shapes the vessels he will use. Jesus spoke of the faithful servant, the one who could be trusted with little, who would then be entrusted with much. The kingdom does not reward volume, it rewards consistency. You may think what you are doing now is insignificant, but heaven does not measure as the world does. Heaven sees the prayer you prayed in the middle of the night, the sacrifice you made when it hurt, the act of kindness when no one thanked you, the work you did that no one noticed. God sees, and he remembers. Faithfulness in the small things proves your character. It shows that you can carry responsibility without being consumed by pride. If you cannot be faithful in the hidden place, you will not endure the weight of public calling. The greater the purpose, the deeper the preparation, and God is not in a hurry. He is building something eternal in you. So do not despise the small days. Do not rush the quiet seasons. They are not delays, they are divine appointments. They are the foundation stones of something far greater than you can imagine. Be faithful where you are. Clean the floor. Serve the one beside you. Speak truth when it's hard, love when it's inconvenient. The eyes of the Lord are upon the faithful. If your calling comes from God, it will be opposed. You will not step into your destiny without resistance. There is a battle over your purpose because it matters. Every time a child of God begins to move in the direction of their calling, the kingdom of darkness trembles. Hell does not war against the insignificant. The opposition you face is not a sign that you're off track. It is a sign that you are a threat. The warfare is confirmation that heaven has marked you and hell has noticed. From the very beginning, this has been the pattern. Joseph had a dream from God, but the moment he spoke it, opposition arose. His brothers turned against him, and he was thrown into a pit. Then came slavery, false accusation, and prison. Why? Because his calling was not ordinary. It was prophetic. It carried weight. And before he wore the robe of authority in Egypt, he wore chains in a dungeon. The attacks on his life were not random. They were strategic. But every battle he faced was part of the preparation. You must understand that your calling is not just about you. It is about what will happen through you. It is about lives that will be touched, souls that will be saved, strongholds that will be broken. That's why the enemy fights you. That's why discouragement comes. That's why fear whispers. That's why everything tries to distract you. Because the enemy's greatest fear is not you living comfortably. It is you living purposefully. Spiritual warfare is not just external. It comes in the form of inner battles, doubt, anxiety, confusion, exhaustion, temptation. You may think it's just you, but it's more than that. The enemy will try to wear you down so you abandon your post. He will stir circumstances to make you question your calling. He will use people to wound you, moments to shake you, and delays to make you believe the promise was a lie. But do not be deceived. The storm around your calling is the enemy's last defense against the will of God manifesting in your life. The Apostle Paul said, "We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers." He was beaten, imprisoned, shipwrecked, not because he was doing something wrong, but because he was doing something right. You will know the value of your calling by the size of the warfare surrounding it. But here is the good news. The battle is not yours. It is the Lord's. You do not fight alone. Heaven backs your calling. The same God who called you is the one who equips you. Put on the full armor of God. Stand your ground, do not retreat, do not give in. The greater the war, the greater the glory on the other side. Your calling is worth the fight. And when you stand firm through the warfare, you will walk into the destiny that no power of darkness could stop. The resistance is fierce, but the reward is eternal. Keep going, you were born for this. There is a time for every purpose under heaven, not just a purpose, but a time. And the calling on your life, no matter how powerful, cannot come to fullness outside of God's appointed timing. We live in a world that demands immediacy. We want the promise without the process, the crown without the cross, the harvest without the planting. But in the kingdom of God, timing is everything. The Lord is not only the author of your calling, He is the keeper of its timing. When God gives a promise, it often comes in seed form. The mistake many make is trying to harvest what has not yet matured. Rushing ahead of God's timing can destroy what would have flourished in His season. Moses was called to be a deliverer, but when he tried to fulfill that calling in his own strength and his own time, he ended up in exile. It was not that the calling was wrong. It was that the timing was premature. It would be another 40 years before he would return to Egypt, not with a sword, but with a staff, not in his strength, but in the power of the great I Am. Divine timing teaches us to wait, but not in passivity in preparation. Waiting is not wasted time. It is the sacred space where God molds, refines, and deepens the vessel. David was anointed as king while still a boy, yet he would not wear the crown until years later. He would be hunted, betrayed, hidden in caves, but in those hidden years, God was shaping a king after his own heart. Had David rushed the throne, he would have lacked the heart to sustain it. But because he trusted the process, he stepped into the kingship fully prepared. Your calling is not just about arriving, it's about becoming. And becoming takes time. You must trust that the one who began the good work in you knows exactly when to bring it to pass. When you try to force what God has not yet released, you create Ishmael's temporary solutions that only bring confusion. But when you wait for his voice, his door, his timing, you receive the Isaac, the child of promise, born not of striving but of faith. The delays you experience are not denials, they are divine alignments. God is positioning people, circumstances, and even your own heart. The silence is not absence. The waiting is not punishment. It is preparation for something greater than you could ask or imagine. Do not be discouraged if the vision tarries. The word declares, though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. It's a global dialogue. It is perfect. That rest in that once to, Rook shackled it. Trust the one who sees the end from the beginning. The doors will open when they're supposed to. The season will shift when the time is right. And when it does, it will not be by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of the Lord. Now, beloved, we come to the end, but in truth, it is only the beginning. For what you have heard is not just a message, it is a summons, a call to rise, a call to awaken, a call to take hold of the purpose that has been written into your very being by the hand of the Almighty. You were not created to drift through life without direction. You were not fashioned for fear or failure. You were made for destiny, for impact, for such a time as this. The keys have been laid before you, not forged by man, but by heaven. They are not theoretical, they are not symbolic. They are living truths that open real doors in your life. The key of surrender, where you lay down your will and receive His. The key of seeking, where you stop chasing what the world offers and begin to pursue God Himself. The key of obedience, where every step of faith becomes a stone in the path He designed for you. The key of faithfulness, where your unseen actions in secret places prepare you for the assignments that will one day shake nations. The key of warfare, where you realize that resistance is not rejection, but evidence that your destiny threatens the enemy. And the key of divine timing, where you come to trust that His delays are not denials, but the perfect unfolding of your purpose. But hearing these truths is not enough. The power lies in the response. The time for delay is over. The hour is late. The trumpet is sounding across the earth. The Spirit is calling the chosen, the appointed, the set apart, those who will no longer live for comfort, but for calling, who will no longer be led by emotion, but by mission. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to see the entire path. You only need to say yes. Say yes to the voice calling you out of the boat. Say yes to the fire burning in your bones. Say yes to the God who wrote your name into His divine plan before the foundations of the world. And know this, the one who calls you is faithful. He will not leave you halfway. He will not abandon what He began in you. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the one who begins and the one who completes. You are not walking this journey alone. Heaven walks with you. The Spirit goes before you. The same God who called Moses from the bush who raised David from the pasture, who carried Joseph from the pit to the palace, that same God is calling you. So rise, take the keys, open the doors, step into the destiny that has waited for you to say yes. This is not the end. This is your beginning. The journey of your calling starts now, and all of heaven is watching.